Welcome back to the channel. We're back on our Spider-Man Commander deck profile with Spider-Man Noir. His Menace for 4/4 for 5 mana, and whenever a creature you control attacks alone, put a +1/+1 counter on it, then surveil X, where X is the number of counters on it. So, it's kind of fun just to build a +1/+1 counter deck that didn't involve green in it, especially just having mono black. It was really fun. He does really fit well in a Squall deck, especially for that attacking alone synergy that he has. So he's not necessarily the best commander, but he does help you get a whole bunch of stuff into your graveyard to make sure that you can then revive that stuff from your graveyard in order to make sure that you're getting some big creatures on the board to stomp over your opponents. But that's our game plan. Let's get into it card by card to see how we do it. Starting us off, we have Arcane Signet for a little bit of mana to make sure we can cast them super early. Conformer Shuriken for 2 mana. Equipped creature gets more powerful. The more power more power and toughness the creature that we're tapping has. Allowing those additional +1/+1 counters, which allows us to surveil for more because it doesn't matter how they get those +1/+1 counters. All that matters is that they get them for Spider-Man Noir's ability. Jet Medallion for some cost reduction to make sure we get Spider-Man Noir out on the battlefield earlier than turn 5. Lightning Grease, make sure the creatures can attack the turn they come in, because this way we're not just reviving creatures, have them sit around, get removed, and then not be able to do anything with them. Portal to Phyrexia, another way to revive some stuff from graveyards. We want to make sure we have ways to put stuff into not only our graveyard, but our opponent's graveyard as well, and also revive stuff out of those graveyards. Scepter of Eternal Glory, add 1 mana of any color for 4, or add 3 mana of any one color. Activate only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name, which we have mostly swamps, so it's not that hard to do. Soul Ring for some extra mana. Sword of Truth and Justice. Get some +1/+1 counters and proliferate on the creature that's attacking. You can also get them on some other creatures if you want to. But you're going to tend to just put them all into one creature so you can surveil for as many cards as possible. Normally putting any big creatures that you surveilled into the graveyard, reviving them later, but still, just having that protection also helps us potentially swing in for some damage. Tarion Soul Cleaver, whenever another artifact or creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature. Then we get some additional +1/+1 counters onto our creatures, allowing us to surveil for just that many more cards. It also gives our creature vigilance so that we're not shields down with our biggest creature. Also, when I first read this card, I thought it was from anywhere that they're getting the +1/+1 counters. So if you milled out your opponent or if you milled yourself with those surveils, you have the +1/+1 counters. Unfortunately, you don't. It'll be a little bit too strong, probably. Ozlith, a way to make sure we can keep those +1/+1 counters around, put them back onto a creature when that creature does get removed, so we can make sure we keep surveilling for a lot of cards. Drone of Eldraine, some good draw power, some good mana source, and Wayfarer's Bauble for some extra mana. And then for our creatures, we have Blood Tracker. Pay 2 life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature for just 1 black mana. Allows us to get +1/+1 counters on this creature, then when it gets to swing in, gets more, gets us to surveil. And when it leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each counter on it. There could potentially be a lot of draw power while we're on it. Carrion Feeder, can't block, but you can sacrifice a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on this card, allows us to eventually swing in, get the damage off. We don't necessarily have a lot of creatures we want to sacrifice, but we do have a lot of ways to revive creatures, so like if we do sacrifice them, we'll be able to get them back. Crypt Gas, another way to get some additional mana, make sure we get Spider-Man Noir out a little bit sooner. Dog Detective, enters battlefield, surveil 2, another way to surveil, we like to surveil with this deck. And whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. It's just a card we don't mind surveilling with Spider-Man Noir because we keep getting it back. And just looks kind of cool. Doom Whisperer, pay 2 life, surveil 2, flying trample 6/6. Creature we want to revive to make sure we keep surveilling, get more stuff into our graveyard, have more stuff to keep on reviving with that. Duty Beyond Dead, Exalted, giving those creatures not +1/+1 counters, just a +1/+1, so it helps with our creatures attacking alone. You also can regenerate this for 4. I mean, it's not that great for the regenerate cost that you're going to want to pay that, but still, being able to get that Exalted ability is what we're going here for. Emperor Bones, at the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to 1 target creature card from one target card from a graveyard, and then whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on this card, which that's not hard to do with this deck, put a creature card exile with this card onto the battlefield under your control with a finality counter on it, gains haste, and you sacrifice it later on. I mean, maybe we could just sacrifice it with like something like not Crypt Gas, Carrion Feeder, in order to make sure that we don't necessarily have to worry about getting leaving later. But still, just being able to get one of our best things out of our graveyard, or one of our opponent's best things out of their graveyard, we like to see it. Dusk Mantle, flying, lifelink, 3/8, pretty good stat line, is 7 mana. You may play lands and cast spells from 1 cards in your graveyard that were surveilled this turn. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value without paying its mana cost, allowing us to get a lot of our spells for not a lot of mana. And you have to pay life, and if you're getting this out turn 7, you're going to want to try to get this out a little bit earlier. Fleshbag Marauder, another creature that will help us sacrifice our opponent's creatures. Just a little bit helpful there, getting around our opponent's big things, especially if they're playing Voltron and we don't have something big enough to swing over it yet. Grey Merchant Asphodel, Spider-Man Noir is only 1 devotion himself. We have plenty of things that'll give us extra devotion to deal that damage to our opponents. Crick, Son of Yawgmoth, allows us a little bit of cost reduction there, allowing us to pay 2 life rather than any black mana. It also gets him some +1/+1 counters on himself. So that's an even more powerful creature to surveil for some more cards. Morbid Opportunist, when our creatures get removed, we get to draw some cards. We like to draw cards. We want to make sure we have more stuff to play. Necropolis Regent, whenever a creature you control deals comp damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. There's going to tend to be at least like one person unguarded at some point in the game, or especially one person that doesn't have flying. So, getting 6 +1/+1 counters on this creature, for example, would be quite a good payoff. Nephrox, Overlord of Grixis, 6 mana for 5/5, Exalted. I like the Exalted ability because we're going to be trying to attack alone for the most part. And then whenever this or attacks alone, defending player sacrifices a creature, even better there, because we want to attack alone. Scorpion, Seething Striker, lets our creatures connive when, as long as the creature died this turn. That allows us some +1/+1 counters and some draw power. Shouldered Whispering One, a good source of recursion for our creatures, allows us to get them back to the battlefield. We have a lot of creatures that we're looking to mill, a lot of creatures are looking to revive. Siegfried, Famed Swordsman, another creature that's good at getting +1/+1 counters on himself. Milled recards, put X +1/+1 counters on this card, where X is twice the number of creature cards in your graveyard, which, with the amount of cards we're surveilling, this could potentially just be enough to finish off our opponents. Silent Arbiter, no more than 1 creature can attack each combat, which we don't care about, because we want to attack with only 1 creature, and no more than 1 creature can block each combat, allowing us to normally have our creatures get over most of our opponent's stuff. And then Stonecoiled Serpent, Reach, Trample Protection for Multicolored. Just a creature that could get a lot of +1/+1 counters on it, allowing us to surveil for a lot of cards. Sir Conrad the Grim, whenever creature cards put into a graveyard from anywhere, essentially, deal damage to each opponent. You can mill some cards, or if you're surveilling a lot of cards, those are cards being put into your graveyard. So, may as well deal damage to our opponent. Umbral Collar Zealot, another way to surveil. Attack for some creatures while you're at it. Vashta Narada, 3 mana for 1/1 Indestructible Shadow, allowing us to have a creature that'll definitely be able to swing in for some damage. And at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this card. It only lasts like 1 +1/+1 counter each turn, but it's the beginning of each end step, not just the beginning of each of your end steps. So it could potentially be a 5/5, but 5/5 by the time it gets back to your turn. Venom, Evil Unleash, another way to get some +1/+1 counters onto our creatures, giving them Death Touch while we're at it. Westgate Regent, 5 mana, 4/4, flying, ward, discard a card, deal combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Just having flying, like I said, there's normally 1 person without flying. So if we have this attack alone, deal combat damage to a player, it's already 5/5, it becomes a 10/10 next turn. Yahenni, Undying Partisan, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this card. Another good card that has all those +1/+1 counters on, in order to deal plenty of damage to our opponent, and surveil for plenty of cards. Zodiark, Umbral God, 5 mana for 5/5. Everyone sacrifices a whole bunch of creatures and put +1/+1 counters onto Zodiark while you're at it. On to our second half of the deck. There we go. For enchantments, we have Animate Dead in order to reanimate one of our creatures. Black Market in order to get some additional mana. A lot of our creatures are probably going to be getting removed, especially the ones with the +1/+1 counters on them. So let's get some mana off that. Deldrick Attic and Widow's Walk. Sorry, I always have to turn my head for these. Whenever you unlock this door, draw 2, opponent loses 2 life. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, +1/+0, and Death Touch. That's the ability that we're looking for, allowing us to make sure we could, destroy our opponent's stuff while we're in it. Eternal Durst. Quick creature has lifelink, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. I also get a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters, especially if we're not the drought yet. Sigil of Merkle. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, mill a card. When you do, there are 4 more creature cards in your graveyard, which there probably will be. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Gains Death Touch till end of turn. Also Surveil for just that many more cards. And then Unspeakable Symbol. For 3 mana, you pay 3 life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. In theory, you could pay 39 life, leaving yourself with 1. And then get Lightning Bolt and lose game. Arch Enemy's Charm. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. Gains lifelink. Or you could get some recursion, or you could exile creature or planeswalker. All just good abilities for a stack. Starian's Thirst. Another way to get some +1/+1 counters onto our creatures. Where X is the power of the creature exiled this way. Removal, +1/+1 counters. We want all those things. Dark Ritual for some mana. Feign Death. To make sure our creatures come back to the battlefield, even if they do get removed, and this time with more +1/+1 counters. Unless they had the +1/+1 counters to begin with. Grim Affliction, put -1/-1 counter on target creature, then proliferate, potentially removing a 2/2 our opponent controls, or just if they took damage, we could get them to the lowest health total, but also proliferating our +1/+1 counters. Lethal Scheme, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Get to connive your creatures, getting some +1/+1 counters on them. Oblivion's Hunger, target creature control gains indestructible. Draw a card, that creature has a +1/+1 counter on it. A little bit of protection there, and a little bit of draw power. Song of the Dam, add black mana for each creature in your graveyard, which, I don't know if you noticed, but we're surveilling a lot. It could be up to 26 mana, in theory. Undying Malice, another way to recur our creatures. Then for our sorcerers, a Blasphemous Edict for a board wipe. Reach the multiverse, revive our best creature, revive our opponent's one of their creatures that they milled because their best creature is still on their battlefield and is about to destroy us. Buried Alive, in order to put our best stuff into the graveyard so we could revive it later. Dire Sight, surveil some more cards, drawing some more cards. Dread Return, another source of recursion to make sure we're getting our best stuff back from the graveyard. Living Death, each player basically bring all the stuff back from our graveyard, and our opponents do the same thing now. Reanimate to reanimate a creature. Rise of the Dark Realms to reanimate all creatures from all graveyards. And then get board wiped, because that's probably what's going to happen. That's what happens anytime you cast this card. Your guys' counterspell to get board wiped after it. Like, it is a good card. It is a really fun card. And if you could get it off, if your opponent doesn't have the mana, you could do something. Toxic Deluge for another board wipe. And then Victimize for some more reanimation. But that's the deck there. If you guys liked the video, make sure you like the video. If you want to stay tuned for more videos like this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe so you can stay tuned for future videos. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the day.